Well, first of all, strong Israel, strong and successful Israel is important for the U.S. And you have here some quotation about the value of strong Israel to the U.S. And I think it's important because throughout my presentation, and I'm sure that throughout your journey here, you could see that in a way the strong ties between Israel and the U.S. is very fruitful to Israel, and here, as you can see, for the U.S. as well. This is regarding mainly for military, but I'll show you some respect. It is occur also in science, technology, and other areas. Now, what's happened? Have you seen this?
No.
This is the best slide I had. So after that, it will all get
Downhill?
Yeah. But this describes what happened to Israel in the last 30 years. What happened here? And you can see the growth regarding the amount of people, life expectancy, the GDP grow in 923%, per capita 400%, which is huge numbers. And all this outcome, I'll try to explain the reason why. Why are the facts so good and where it is not so good? I'll tell you all about it. Now, first of all, we called the English book Israel Island of Success, and I'm showing you the island. Okay? This is the island in the middle of a very, very dark area, figuratively and
Literally.
Now we found out that Israel have four competitive advantages that create this success. First of all, the scientific technological advantages. You've been in Weizmann Institute, you know the deal. The entrepreneurial ecosystem, the entrepreneurial DNA of people and the country. The global advantage and the demographic advantage. By the way, to call it a demographic advantage is the first time, I think, in the Israeli history, because always it has been referred to as the demographic challenge.
Just so you should know, if you know Dan David,
Yeah.
he was here yesterday. And that's a big
I
step.
know. This is the first time in writing said demographic advantage, and I'll try to explain to you why we call it that way. So this graph shows the R&D spending in billions of dollars, and of course the U.S. is the leading country in the world, more than China, more than all the European Union, more than Japan, when you count in dollars spent on R&D. This is Israel in the very, 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 very small number. But if you are looking at the R&D spending as a percentage of GDP, you find Israel to be the leading, with South Korea, by the way, the leading country. Which means that Israel is very small, you already know that, but we are doing the utmost we can to increase the R&D spending. So in R&D spending as a percentage of the GDP, Israel and South Korea are in the first place. So this is one of the reasons why the scientific and technological advantages exist. But if you look at the result, it's really astonishing. For example, Israel belongs to the Space Club. Space Club, those 8 countries who launch satellite and missiles first in the world. Who are those countries? Russia, USA, France, Japan, China, UK, India, and Israel. If you would consider the size of those countries compared to Israel, it's almost unlogical that Israel will be a member of this club. So Israel is the first worldwide in business expenditure on R&D, business expenditure. First in cybersecurity in the world. Second in scientific research. Second in public expenditure on education. And third in qualified engineers within the workforce. So those are the results, actually, of the ecosystem here about the eagerness about scientific and science and technology.
All of that makes sense, but you may be interested to know that Dan Ben David criticized public expenditure on education. That doesn't make
It's
him right,
true.
but that's what
No,
he said.
it's true, because Israel public expenditure on education is one of the most highest in the world. But since, and I'll talk about it when we'll talk about Israel is much younger country from other country. There are much more kids here. So if you take this expenditure, which is one of the first in the world, and divide it to the amount of children, it's true. It's not enough. All right, you probably heard it, you probably know it. Israel is the #1 country in the world for Nobel Prize winners per capita. The third in Turing Award in computing. 30% winners of the Gödel Prize for computer science are Israelis. By the way, and this is very important to emphasize, those scientists, here are the Nobel Prize winners, are working in partnership with American universities. They are not isolated. They are partly here, partly there, and they're combining budgets and scientific researchers. But the numbers is astonishing. I'll tell you something about one of the reasons why it is so. And one of the reasons are, and it's also an explanation for the technology and science breakthrough that you would find here. And the reasons are that the DNA of Israelis, and I think perhaps also for many Jews, is, what do you mean I can't do it? Of course I can do it. So what is everyone else think something else? So what is all the scientists from my field believes that something is so and so? I think it's different. And it's very difficult. Chehanover said it, I think it was Chehanover who said that you are fighting against all the peer group in your university. And of course your promotion is based on how many research will be published on the most well-known publication. And if you're against everyone, they won't publish you. But in a way, you believe in your inner truth, and then you get the Nobel Prize. So this is the feeling of the people who are doing it. It's the same about younger people who are creating a high-tech company. What do you mean I can't do it? Of course I can do it. Well, sometimes they can, sometimes they don't. We'll talk about it later. This is later. The second advantage of Israel, one of the fourth that I mentioned before, is the entrepreneurial advantage. It is not likely that two Israelis will meet for coffee without some business coming out of it. It can be technological or high-tech company, and it could be just something in low-tech. More than 1,000 startups are created in Israel every year. 1,000. Most of them fails, of course. Some of them doesn't fail. And very few become a unicorn. You know what a unicorn is? So very few become a unicorn. But they are. Israel is #2 in the world regarding the entrepreneurial activity These amounts are given by GM, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, from 2016.
What do the numbers mean?
What is the percentage of people within the age of 25 and I think 55 or 60 who said that they intend to build a new business in the next 24 months, which is a huge number. The United States is the best place for entrepreneurs in the world, followed by Israel, said Eric Schmidt. The kind of innovation going on in Israel is critical to the future of the technology business, said Bill Gates. And in 2 days in Israel, I saw more opportunities than in a year in the rest of the world. So this is what's happening. And this is a huge advantage for Israel's success. Another advantage is the global advantage. Before I talk about this slide, I must tell you that I think every newborn child in Israel in the first 3 to 5 years having a passport. It's a common action of parents to have passport for the kids. And then they'll take him abroad for holidays. And then when he will be 17 or 18, he will go with school to visit the death camps in Poland and to understand the Holocaust and the meaning of the Holocaust. And then he'll go to the army. And when he's finished the army, he's living for 6 months to 12 months, except of autumn here, which he didn't do it. But when when he's leaving the army, he'll go for 6 months or 12 months to South America or India or the Far East or Australia to a tour by himself. By the way, we parents are not allowed to join. And when he's coming back, he is capable for having a roadshow in New York. He's a man of the world. He tried to survive in a surrounding he doesn't understand. So the globalization is attribute of the Israelis from born. 86 Israeli companies are listed on NASDAQ. Over 300 leading international companies chose Israel as target to their R&D centers. By the way, in many cases, it would be the second after the US. It would be the first R&D center in the US and then in Israel. Microsoft is almost as much an Israeli company as it is an American company, said Steve Ballmer. And I can tell you that Microsoft is looking for the next big thing to be developed here, to be invented and developed here. Why? Israelis are crazy. I don't know why. They think differently. They think very originally about what need to be done. So I put here some of the logos of these international companies, most of them American, very few Israelis like Checkpoint and Waze and others, SanDisk, and but most of them are Israelis, are American. Now, I have an answer to give about demographic advantage. First, Israel has the youngest population in the OECD, and in the OECD, most rich countries, of course, the gap is even bigger. The third most educated population in the world, we'll talk about this and Dan David in a moment. We have positive immigration. More people are coming to Israel every year than people who are leaving Israel. Highest fertility rate within the developed countries. By the way, highest fertility rate. The next one is Saudi Arabia, I think. Arab and ultra-religious Jews are just entering the education and the labor force. And this is a revolution. It happened within the last 5 years. You can find more and more Israeli Arabs and ultra-Jews in education, in higher education. By the way, 25% of the students in the Technion, which is the Israeli equivalent for MIT, are Israeli Arabs. And you can find also a greater number of ultra-religious Jews going to higher education in relevant subject to the workforce, which was not the case. So this is a revolution, this is a situation, and altogether is a demographic advantage. Now, I said that we have 4 advantages, and we are in the midst of 3 revolutions. Victory over the desert, energy, and transportation. Israel is a desert, actually. I mean, 65%? 65% is a desert. It's surrounded by desert. And it's the only country in the world where the desert is got wind. Okay? Less and less areas are dry areas. Israel has no more problems with rain and natural source of water. I can tell you that my father was born in the Galilee, and as a kid, they used to work all year long to make the field, to take the stones out of the field. And their father was working in Tel Aviv to earn money. And when he earned enough money, he bought seeds and took the seeds back to the Galilee, and they would seed the fields. And my father, when he was 60, he always looked in the sky and said, and the sky is dry. And of course, no seed grew up. And they were hungry again. And their father came to Tel Aviv to work again and to buy seeds again. And this what happened in a country which is a desert. No more. There is not any water problem in Israel. This outcome is based on 3 main things. First of all, contrary to what happened in the US, the water law of Israel is that no man can be an owner of water, no matter if it's in the middle of his living room. The well belongs to the government. It belongs to the states. And no one has any claim over the water, whether he is there for ages or he is very close to the water. The water is for everyone. So what we know, what happened in the Colorado River, by the way, that the farmers next to the Colorado River are watering the field by flooding it, which is the most spending water for nothing method. And Los Angeles is thirsty. So the Israeli law, the water law, is completely different, and it is one of the reasons for this success. The other reason is that we are recycling of water. Israel is number 1st in the world in wastewater recycling, with 90% rate of the water. Now Australia is in the 2nd place with 22%. And there is, by the way, a very good book written about the water solution in Israel, when the author emphasized that Israel is now in a position of advising the world about water behavior. There are many other subjects referring to it. I won't get into it. I must tell you another thing, that Israel now is, in a way, using the water for peace. Israel gives water to Jordan and to the Palestinian Authority more than it was obliged by the peace treaty. Maybe not more than they wish to have, but more than it is obliged. So Israeli companies are consulting Chinese mayors from huge cities how to recycle water, because they have waste in those cities which is enormous, then they can be used. So this is one revolution. Energy. Well, we found some gas wells in the Mediterranean, huge ones, and these are the green energy solutions that are projects that are held now in Israel. Energy is cheap energy, is the revolution in the making. And transportation, you've traveled around, I'm sure that you could see that everything is upside down, because a lot of transportation projects are held now. The public budgets for transportation is growing dramatically for the last 2 years and for the next 5 years, and it would be necessary but bring a lot of revenue to the Israeli economy. Challenges. I told you I'll try to be realistic and fair. First of all, the challenge of inequality and poverty. Inequality in Israel is the same as in the States. Both places are the leading in the world for inequality. But what happened in Israel now is going to change the situation, since I've been told you that Israeli Arabs and religious Jews, ultra-religious Jews, which are the main population of poverty, are now entering the working and education. So we are starting to see change for the better in inequality and poverty. The way is not, it's not enough. The way is there to continue. Housing prices. It's very, very expensive to have an apartment in Israel. This is a subject that the government is trying to help with for the last 2-3 years. Not very successful, and this is a challenge. Public transportation, as I said, it is a challenge that we are trying to meet. Full employment. In Israel now there is full employment. There are some subjects or some jobs that you can't find anyone to work. Some other, the unemployment rate in Israel now is about 4%, which is nothing. And we should add this graph to the next presentation. But 4% unemployment. On the other hand, the people who are actually in the workforce are growing dramatically. So these two graphs are very interesting, but full employment is a problem. It's an economic problem. Not yet, but it's going to be in the next 2-3 years. And strong currency. We are fighting against strong currency because Israeli exporters has problem with exporting. So what I'm trying to say is that Israel is already an economic success, not only economic. I didn't brought you the graph to see, but if and when you will read the book, you will find there a great deal dealing with education, with other subjects. But Israel is already an economic success, And when the four advantage and the three evolution will meet, of course, we foresee that Israel is going to have a greater success.